match 12 of the March One-Day Cup. New South Wales versus Western Australia from Drummoyne Oval in Sydney. My name's Robbie McKinlay. I'll be joined in today by Max Bryden and Brittany Carter in a picture-perfect day in Sydney. Drummoyne Oval looking fantastic. Absolutely perfect conditions. Temperature around about 80 degrees. Around the toss. Western Australia have won the toss and they have decided they will bowl, so New South Wales into bat. 12th man today, New South Wales will be Nick Larkin, and for Western Australia it will be Matt Bryden.
Joel Harris, of course, played a handful of ODIs for Australia as well. Looks like in the middle at the moment, we're getting underway, opening the batting for the New South Wales Blues. Dan Hughes, Jack Edwards and Nathan Coulton will be opening bowling from the Lions Road Inn.
Yeah, one of your favourite roads around this neck of the woods, apparently, Max. It's a nice little eateries there.
Oh, absolutely. For the locals, they'll know, they'll get around it. Of course, there's a few little hot spots up there for a bit of chicken and burgers and stuff like that, not far from Drummoyne Oval. And I don't mind, of course, coming to this ground either, because it's only, you basically get drive-through McDonald's on the way just before you get into the ground as well, Robbie. So,
well, it's in beautiful condition, and we're all set to go. It'll be the in-form Daniel Hughes on strike. And today he's got a full 50 overs to have a look at it, available to him. As Nathan Coulton, he's up for the first ball, and Hughes is just defending, pushes it to short mid-off.
A couple of slips in place for WA to start with. We'll be trying to see if there's any movement available out there. Early days, we've seen this a fair bit in the tournament this year. Teams winning the toss and opting to bowl. I don't know if it's the early season wickets or not, Robbie, but certainly looking for a bit of nibble early on before that white kookaburra becomes pretty dormant.
Yeah, I suppose the last real 50-over cricket everyone was engrossed in was the World Cup, which seems only weeks ago, doesn't it, over in England. And gee, what a finish to that. Carnival that was. There's Coulton is in again to Daniel Hughes, and Hughes again almost replicates the shot.
A bit of controversy around it too, though, wasn't there?
It was. Look, I was very much an Australian, but I found myself barracking for their friends across the ditch, Kiwis, and yeah, to think that you could have a remarkable finish like that, Britt, in that World Cup final, and then what we saw in the Test match, the third Test, was just amazing.
You know what was incredible, though? I was in England.
Just off the back foot cutting, there's a nice little gap there between gully and point. He'll be looking for, but he knows that it's really important for him to hang around and try and anchor this innings if he can. Probably looking for his partner, if anyone, to be the aggressor in the first 10 overs.
So Hughes again, he's on the back foot, and again he just punches it to cover. No run. Beautiful conditions. A good little crowd starting to wander in as well up there on the embankment. Why not be up there if you've got school holidays? Great opportunity for the kids to get down there and maybe take a sickie for the day, Max. Not that you'd encourage that,
Never.
but
Never encourage that.
if you're going to do it, it'd be a good day to do it. A beautiful ground here at Drummoyne.
Or you could feign sickness and leave work to come down here and join us.
Well, you could work from here, couldn't you?
You could.
So good start from Coulton. 4 balls down, no runs scored. He bowls again now. Hughes this time, the New South Wales are off and running, and he just plays a nice little shot wide of mid-on for a single.
It's a good start here from Coulton. Just been tucking up Hughes back of a length, really getting the ball to come through about armpit height. And Hughes, if anything, he really likes to free the arms when he's scoring shots. Fantastically off the back foot. Square of the wicket, found a lot of boundaries out through backward square leg the other day. But he's also quite strong off his pads. He played that single there to get off the mark.
And of course, bring the right-handed Jack Edwards on strike. With a limbering up a moment, stretching the back. And just have 1 ball to face to complete the first over in match 12 of the Marsh Cup. Coulton now. Bowls and Edwards. Gee, might be a chance to run out direct hit. And it was brilliantly fielded there by Western Australia there by Cameron Bancroft. And that prevented the run, and it completes a really good over, just the one run off it.
Geez, we had a pretty good view of that one, Robbie, and as you said, stunning work by Cameron Bancroft. I think Jack thought he might have been off to the races with about the first ball. He played that really smartly, taking that pit ball and trying to get it down through third man, but he might have just been home there. But good start, pretty conservative start for New South Wales. There's one run coming from the first over. You sort of get the impression that from this West Australian lineup, Coulson Isle and the man will be opening the bowling from the river end, Jai Richardson, and certainly the two bowlers they'll want to be seeing off early days out here. Posed the biggest threat out here on Monday. Richardson was a real handful, 2 for 36 from his 7 overs in that shortened game, and Coulson Isle 3 for 47 from his 7 as well.
Don't forget Andrew Ty.
Yeah.
They just keep coming in that lineup.
It's a very, very strong side, WA. Just made for one-day cricket too, for that shorter format. And this man, Jai Richardson, his stocks are rising all the time in Australian cricket. He'll run up and bowl his first ball to Hughes. Hughes punches off the back foot. It's a short cover. Almost perfect conditions, you'd have to say today, Britt, wouldn't you, for cricket?
Yeah.
It's just laid it out so superbly. The bay in the background. And
well, that's what I was going to say, that a little breeze should come through from that bay and keep the cricketers somewhat cool in the sun out there today. So, yeah, perfect conditions. I don't think you'd change anything about the day we've got here.
Not sure if we have the equivalent of the Fremantle doctor here in Drummoyne, but Max had come up with something, I'm sure.
More of a sea breeze.
Oh, sea breeze, that's very original for Max. As Richardson bowls now, and it's shortish, and Hughes just drops it to square leg, no run. A good disciplined start from the WA bowlers.
So we've seen a little bit of bowlers searching for swing earlier in this tournament, but it doesn't look like that's a tactics West Australia are after at the moment. There's no overhead cloud cover here, and they just seem to be going after a hard length, particularly against Hughes here at Drummoyne to start with.
So Richardson again, and this one's still short, and Hughes just knocks it back towards the bowler.
Just wonder how long those slips are going to stand in there for, Robbie. You might get an extra man out to the cover area. No calls for panic or anything with the run rate, of course. None for one, but ball doesn't seem to be doing much at the moment.
Not much lateral movement, and it does not appear to be too much swing either. It's just a matter of adjusting to the pace of the pitch. Might be a little bit slow, if anything, but bounce looks pretty true. There's Jai Richardson bowls, and it's again nice and straight. Hughes just hits it back to the bowler.
There's not much on offer early, is there?
Not at all. Yeah, no width, no full width for the batsman to whack it through the offside.
And I think for Jack Edwards, it's important that he makes some runs today, considering, he did well in that first game, but since then's gone for a duck and 2, and such a young player. We know that he was, people were talking about him in the lead up to the Sixers campaign last year.
Richardson again, and again it's shortish, and Hughes just punches it to cover.
And I think most would say that he probably didn't have the campaign he'd like for them in the Big Bash. So if he can get some runs in this Marsh One Day Cup competition, I think that'll put him in good stead for the rest of the summer.
We talk about where the runs are going to come from for New South Wales. We expect that most of it's going to come from their top 3. As you mentioned, it's only been a short career for Jack so far, but he does average 44. This man on strike at the moment as well has an exceptional career so far in the format.
Richardson, and a great shot from Hughes. Punches off the back foot, through point, and that brings up the first boundary of the morning. And New South Wales, after 2 overs, move along to no wicket for 5.
Oh, was right on cue, wasn't it, Robbie? Stunning shot from Dan Hughes. We mentioned they haven't been giving him any width. They've been back of the length and straight. And the first one he got that was a bit wide, a bit of a sighter. Absolutely punished it. Just shows you the kind of nick he's in after Monday's form. And when you talk about form in this format, Britt, to your point earlier, the 2 teams playing each other back-to-back days. This West Australian lineup probably not going to hold much fear for Dan Hughes today. He could be on here for another big score if he can get through these early periods.
So Edwards will face Coulson Isle, and he defends and just works it down to short third man for a single. Edwards is off the mark. Always a good feeling.
We talk about Hughes last year. Didn't have the greatest tournament. 5 innings, only with 97 runs and an average under 20. But this tournament so far, 29. He started well at AB Field. He got 7 runs in their second game, where New South Wales had a bit of a capitulation against South Australia. They got 112 off 96 balls. It was his fastest list A century of his short career to date. But he's already got 4 in his 22 matches so far. He passed 1,000 runs in his career as well.
He faces Coulter-Nile and he drives hard and he gets it through the infield, and that should run away for 4. So Dan Hughes goes back-to-back with boundaries, and that was a lovely shot. Hit it nice and late, Max, and yeah, he, as you see, he looks like a man who is coming off 100.
He certainly does. He's straight away talked about that ball movement early. The second slips come out. He's gone into a bit of a catching cover for Hughes for potentially that one that's overpitched and more pads the left-handed batsman, but those ones outside of off, he just seems to be punishing at the moment. His career, 22 games, run moved over 1,000 in the last game, as we said.
This time he defends. That one looked like it might have kept just a little bit lower, although it was fuller. He just worked it to square leg for no run.
Talk about that career so far. 4 centuries as well, Robbie. We know that's not far away from a pretty special milestone.
Yeah, I think 5 is the most for a New South Wales batsman in one-day cricket. There's some pretty good players up on that list.
There's a lot of openers around the country who do some pretty good work in this format of a game, but with the resume he's put together so far, you do start to question.
And as he faces again, Coulter-Nile, he drives it straight back. Got a hand on it, Coulter-Nile, and prevented the single.
Did well to knock it down, but you do start to question whether or not he could be a guy who could graduate to higher honours.
Well, it's still open, isn't it? We saw from the the English summer, whether it was Test cricket or the one days, that there's still some potential and opportunity there for batsmen at the top of the order.
We were having this discussion at the ABC the other day. It's interesting that sometimes when the Australian batting order isn't doing so well, how much focus is then put back on our domestic competitions. So there'll be lots of people tuning in today wondering who might, step up to the team and take a place in that order.
So Hughes again on strike now, and he cuts the game, but straight to that man in front of point for no run.
Well, it's almost a traditional Shield shootout now at the start of the summer when they're looking for spots in the Australian team. And of course, there will be those T20 internationals which will be coming up against Sri Lanka soon, and no doubt with the focus on the Test cricket as well, they might be plucking a few guys from this very tournament to represent Australia.
Well, Aaron Finch certainly put his hand up yesterday. We'll get more about that after this delivery from Coulter-Nile. Hughes this time works it down to fine leg for a single. He's into double figures. He's on to 10. And then he's no wicket for 11. And we've nearly gone through 3 overs. Yeah, Finch, of course, 188 not out yesterday at the Junction Oval. 14 sixes, the second most, I think, in Australian domestic one-days.
Of course, and you'd probably remember back to that record last year at Hurstville Oval from Darcy Short.
No one beats that, do they?
I don't think so. Well, not without a game at that ground this year, you'd think.
Sometimes you're happy to face 23 balls. I think 23 sixes. Was it 23?
3 sixes.
There you go, Max.
3 sixes in a row. He did that 3 times as well, Darcy Short, last year. He was lucky enough to be there at Hurstville Oval, strapped the hard hat on at the commentary box that day.
I feel like that venue lends itself to sixes, though. I've seen Elisa Healy hit many there with the velodrome around the cricket ground there.
So Jai Richardson to start his second over. Bowls to Hughes, and he very compact in defence.
Certainly does seem to be a bit of magic about Hurstville, but a fair bit of magic about this ground as well. Of course, Drummoyne Oval, the setting for last year's WBBL semi-finals and finals. That was by virtue of the Sixers topping the table. Hosted all 3 of those games as well, and geez, you'll never forget those semi-finals. There were some incredible finishes.
A lot of really good memories here, yeah.
Coulter-Nile again, bowls and Hughes. Thought about a single, and Jack Edwards sent him back pretty quickly there.
Especially the way those games finished. I mean,
you couldn't believe it, could you?
The semi-finals, if you came and bought a ticket for one game, you got 2 fantastic finishes for the price of that. Yeah, it was a great day here, and even the final itself, I know that was a bit of an anticlimax with the Sixers losing to the Brisbane Heat and the trophy leaving Sydney for the first time, but yeah, a fantastic ground for it.
So Hughes again, just tucks that one on the onside for no run. So nice straight bowling here from Jai Richardson. Will stand alone the WBBL this year, commencing very soon too.
Does. We're 16 days away from the kick-off of the tournament. Sydney Sixers and the Sydney Thunder will be going at it in what's been an incredible rivalry so far in their short history of the competition.
A lot of movement this year too.
So Richardson again, Hughes drives and he gets it through the gap. Hasn't got enough on it to get to the boundary, and they'll come back for the second. Able to complete that. So Hughes looking good. No wicket for 13, New South Wales. Hughes is on 12, Edwards on 1, and as we said, he looks like a man who's come off 100, Britt. He's in good nick.
Yeah, and how unfortunate is it for you to make 100 and your side still to lose? Like, you think that would be enough to get you over the line in most cases.
So Hughes again, and he works this one on the onside, straight to square leg, no run. Yeah, Usman Khawaja went his second consecutive 100 against the Vicks, and then the Aaron Finch show took over. But yeah, now there's another player who's been opening the bat for Queensland in one-day cricket. Finch is opening the bat. There's so many good options out there.
Absolutely, and then another Tasmanian got a century opener. They've had Ben McDermott and Caleb Jewell both ton up already in the tournament, so
yep,
a few good boys around the country doing good work early.
Healthy signs. As Richardson bowls again. Hughes this time just whips it off the back foot down to fine leg. Certainly wasn't a deflection, was a real sort of a flashy pull, wasn't it? Real low bottom-handed shot.
He plays that one pretty well, Dan Hughes. He's not necessarily the most powerful batter. You won't see him put too many back over the bowler's head, but anything along that leg side line, he can just get it around the corner more times than not. He's a pretty high-scoring zone for the young man. He's already up to 13 already. Been starving Jack Edwards of a bit of strike, but I don't mind that too much in New South Wales Blues.
Yes, and no wicket for 14 after 4 overs. So it'll be Coulter Nile for his start his third over. Bowls to Hughes, and Hughes drives. And it's got through the fieldsman at mid-off, and they will come back for a second run.
A little bit loose with the hands there.
Certainly made a great start, Daniel Hughes. Gorgeous day in Sydney. Droid Oval looking absolutely magnificent. Hughes on 15. This is Coulter Nile. It's short, and he decides against the pull shot. A little bit quicker, that one from Coulter Nile, whose bouncer is significantly quicker.
I'm always impressed by the way that these batters face up to balls like that. He just turned his head casually to the side, just let it go past him, you know.
What would you be doing, Britt?
Ducking, running away.
Running
actually, I have copped a ball pretty hard to the top of my arm once, and I just was like a deer in the headlights. Massive bruise.
Hughes on strike again now, and he drives straight back past the bowler. He won't get it past mid-on, who saves well and keeps the score into 1. Yeah, Hughes uses a bit of an old-style technique of avoiding the short ball, a bit of a sway away. Bobby Simpson was a very famous cricketer for Australia who employed that tactic, because that was the days without the helmets, Brett.
Yeah.
You almost had to be like a boxer.
Yeah.
Good evasive
Left,
skills.
right, pull right.
Absolutely.
Slip right.
Get it right. On strike now, Jack Edwards. And he's nice in defence. So Edwards still on 1, but as Max said, he hasn't had a lot of the strike.
And that's it. It looks like only the third ball that Jack's faced so far. Now into the 5th over, but I guess importantly, he's looked pretty solid in those 3 deliveries. He's steered a couple towards a third man region, and solid in defence there.
There's 25 balls Hughes has faced and just a 3 for Jack Edwards. What can he do now? He faces Coulter Nile and he drives to mid-on. No real timing in it.
Just back on those bouncing talking topic, there's so much discussion now around concussion and the right helmet that you have to wear, and I know in the Sydney women's grade cricket this year there's a lot of discussion about whether it will be compulsory for all players to wear helmets, and I know in third grade in particular that might see some of the old school style players want to drop out because they're not used to playing with a helmet. They've never been forced to wear one before, but I know if they're thinking safety first, you know, it's probably worth implementing.
So Edwards on strike to Coulter Nile, and he drives nicely, but the bowler got a hand on it and he prevents any chance to run. So that completes 5 overs. New South Wales, after being sent into bat, a no wicket for 17.
Pretty steady start so far. Blues seem to have comfortably get a run rate above 6 runs and over. Last match out here on Monday. New pitch, of course, but so far not gifting any chances to WA, and importantly haven't lost any wickets. But I think going to get the full 50 overs here, they'd still want to be up around that 300 mark at least, particularly with the firepower that WA are bringing with the bat. So just important that the next 5 overs they can push that score up, hopefully towards 40 or 50 for the Blues. I'd be happy with that. Richardson now going to change his lineup as well, becoming around the wicket.
Around the wicket to Hughes. Hughes plays it well, straight to cover. Pretty sharp in the field, the Western Australians.
Oh, they were red hot on Monday. There was a number of occasions at the end of that match. It looked like the Blues had found a much-needed boundary as they were chasing down that Duckworth-Lewis adjusted target. But, gee, they're a very strong-looking unit out there.
Yep. So Hughes on strike to Richardson, and he drives straight, but straight back to the bowler, and very nicely gathered.
When you talk about Richardson, his body of work already for a young man, 23 years old. He's already represented Australia on 23 occasions. 2 tests against Sri Lanka last year, 12 ODIs and a couple of 9 T20 internationals as well. He's certainly a young man with much vaunted ability, but he's really backed it up with his performances as well.
He's up at the crease again now. He bowls to Hughes. Hughes tries to whip that one away down the square leg, and he just got that in the midriff.
Yeah, he wasn't a couple of inches lower. He might have been a bit more pain, poor Dan Hughes, but
he may have got it a bit lower, actually, Max.
I was just going to say, judging by his reaction, I'm wondering whether it did clip him close to that area.
Yeah, well, that's it. Do you call for a drink at this point? What do you reckon, Robbie?
Yeah, it's very awkward, Britt. It's probably something you can't comment too much on, but Max and I can probably add a bit to this. It's just not one of those great moments in your life.
There was a moment at the end of the chase on Monday where Nick Burtis got hit there and was very tense with a run rate. Didn't seem to get enough time to suck in the air that he needed.
Hughes is back on his feet, and a little bit of a ragged shot, though. You let it go, it's going to be a wide, so a good chance for Daniel Hughes to get a bit of composure back.
I would have liked to have a mic stump picking up what Marcus Stoinis was saying to him then. Whether it was sledging or, you know, lending some support, we'll never know.
Yeah, you'd like to hope it was support, because that's all you need, isn't it? It's the only thing you need.
It becomes very funny for everyone else in the world, bar the person who gets struck. A bit of banter. So Richardson, he has been right on the money. Again, bowl straight, and Hughes again tries to whip it sort of through mid-wicket. Wasn't quite there, and this is a testament to the tight bowling that the Sandgropers have produced so far, Max.
Well, it certainly looks like a plan to Hughes. He's had 2 wide ones that he's punished to the boundary so far in his 16 runs he's compiled together. But apart from that, Richardson's barely given him any width. This is a good move around the wicket as well. In that 4th and top of off stump line.
He charges up again, and this time Hughes, he plays a beautiful shot, smashes it in front of point for 4 runs, and just lovely hands through the ball. Daniel Hughes, he goes on to 20.
Let's see it again, right on cue. Give the man a wrap. He puts one wide and Hughes is in too good a touch to be missing out on those from Richardson. It's been good so far in Giants. 3 games, 6 wickets, average at 20.5 so far this tournament, even after getting a bit of tap in the first game against Victoria from Glenn Maxwell.
So Hughes with 3 boundaries thus far. He faces Richardson again, and this time he does try to work it down the fine legger. He might have got a bit of 5-pad on that one. And umpire Paul Wilson signals that a leg by to finish the over. So 6 down. There's no wicket for 23.
Now we get a bit of a drink out in the middle for Dan Hughes and his partner Jack Edwards. Needs a painkiller or anything right now, but certainly a good time to take stock of what's important to you in your life.
So Max, Jack Edwards has not had a lot of the bowling today, has he?
No, he's been starving for strike out there in the middle so far. He's only faced the 5. And by contrast, Daniel Hughes has faced 31 deliveries, so not too many times you would have seen something like that.
So it's Hughes on strike again, and he drives hard at it, and no real timing there. Straight to short cover.
Jack won't mind, and obviously a player has had a very notable career in the pathways coming through for New South Wales. He started under 17 and under 19 level, and last year in this tournament became the youngest man in the history of the tournament to post a century on this very ground. But he showed through his work in the Shield team as well that he does have a bit of patience to go with his natural shot-making ability.
So Coulter bowls again now to Daniel Hughes, and he French cuts it down towards the boundary, and it should go all the way for 4, and it will. So bit of a loose shot there from Daniel Hughes, but he gets 4 runs for it, and he moves along to 24.
Yeah, that was a funny one from Hughes. Just about his first miss hit in a couple of days. Very close to the leg stump, and unfortunately for WA, just away from the keeper, Josh Philippi. All of a sudden, Hughes has got his 4th boundary in his early innings out here. And this is a bit like what we saw from him on Monday. Started pretty steady, but as he got going, he was really comfortable up there. Coulter now around the wicket.
He bowls again to Hughes, and it's short, and Hughes defended it, but I reckon he had a quick glance to deep mid-wicket and thought about Britt maybe trying to pull that one over the top. There's a good bit of a gap out there, but
yeah, watching him, he still looks like he's trying to get his eye in, because there's a couple of awkward shots in there, but we've also seen some boundaries, so just about waiting for that right ball at the right time. And you know, he's played for New South Wales a long time now, so he's got some experience out there and knows when to do that. And I think Jack Edwards taking a back seat here is actually beneficial. You know, 19 years old, watching someone that made a century yesterday go about their business and how they build a good total again this time round.
So Hughes faces Coulter, and this time he drives, and he drives it past point, past gully. And third man Richardson comes around very smartly indeed and bowls it back in, and just for the 1 run. Just warming up that arm a little bit more.
Yeah, don't mind that. It's good aesthetics from Richardson out there. Just always showing the captain that he's ready.
Yeah,
he's hungry for some work.
He's now going to go back and sign a few of those autographs, which is great.
He's getting a selfie. I'm just watching him on the edge of the boundary there.
It's a good day's work, isn't it, for the kids?
Yep.
Getting a photo with the Jai guy. Brings Jack Edwards back on strike as well.
And he'll face Coulter, and that one's short, and he ducks under that bouncer from Coulter.
I've actually got some inside information about Jack Edwards for you guys. We had Mickey and Jack on our Ladies Who Leg Spin podcast last summer, which, as you can imagine, was chaos. The two of them in one studio together. Yep. We went off track so many times. I think it was one of our longest podcasts of the summer. But yeah, some interesting stuff to come out of it that I might be able to share with you as time goes on.
A couple of loose units?
Yes. I've heard his room is very messy in particular.
Well, he's on strike now to Coulter, and that's Fuller, and he clips it nicely in front of square, but straight to the fieldsman. And that completes another good over. So 7 overs down. New South Wales, after being sent into bat, no wicket for 28.
And just to recap, if you're just tuning into the coverage today, perhaps you've been in a 9:30 meeting and just getting back to the desk now. No changes for either side. New South Wales and WA in this one. So next in the bat for the Blues will be Moses Enriquez, Matt Gilks, Nick Burtis at 5. Peter Neville is the other man in the top 6 for them. And just to talk about the experience gap between these two outfits today, as we mentioned, 10 of the 11 from WA have played cricket for Australia, whereas only a handful of games so far in this tournament for a lot of the Blues middle order.
So Richardson's going to persist around the wicket to Hughes. And Hughes just gets a bit of an edge on that one to the point.
And a backyard cricket, isn't it, with just one batter on strike?
Hogging the bat.
Everyone's taking a turn to try and bowl out Dan Hughes at the moment.
He's always saying, I've got the ton, young fella, just sit back and watch. The boy from Cowra, of course, Daniel Hughes.
Yep. Good country cricketer.
Yeah. Part of the Central West. As Richardson bowls now to Hughes. Now it's a little bit fuller and a little bit straighter. Straight to mid-on, no run.
I remember talking to Dan Hughes probably 4 or 5 years ago and asking him what was the best thing about playing cricket in the country, and asked the question to a number of the New South Wales Blues at the time, Hazelwood and the like, and a few of the boys, and we were talking about the community, and he said the best thing was playing on synthetic wickets and swinging as hard as he could, knowing the bounce would be through.
Of course, he would have played a lot of cricket on Holman Oval in Cowra. That's their main turf wicket there. A couple of wickets alongside each other. And he's at Drummoyne Oval this morning, and he's facing Richardson, and it's a good length ball, and it's very well played in defence.
It was almost a bit of a late bloomer in his career. He was a contracted player for the New South Wales Blues for around 3 seasons without really getting much of a game, but seemed to turn it around in 2015, 2016 with that. And I'm not sure what it was. You know, you talk about Steve Smith and the like, and that little movement across, and his game just clicked. But something sort of seemed to work for Dan Hughes then, and he hasn't stopped scoring runs for the Blues in the 6s since.
He faces Richardson, and he drives. He gets another inside edge. The old famous French cut down to the boundary for 4, and he's, well, if it's your time in cricket, if you're having a good run, you get away with those sort of things. Otherwise, a cannon's in the leg stump, and Hughes' fortune favours the Brave. He moves along to 29. It's no wicket for 32.
And they can't dismiss him, can they, WA? Carried his bat in the last game for 35 overs after opening for New South Wales, and a few streaky ones, but still getting it done. Blues out there at the moment.
You'll take the runs however they come, won't you?
Absolutely.
Exactly. All same in the scoreboard. He faces again. This time he drives uppishly, but through the gap, and that'll go away for 4 runs through the covers. So a little bit of bottom hand in it, but he found the gap. That was most importantly, and back-to-back boundaries for Daniel Hughes.
Yeah, really good shot. Safe shot there. No one in the covers for WA in the first 10 overs. Hughes taking full toll.
Richardson to complete his 4th over. Runs up now, bowls, and Hughes drives again through the covers. And this one, well, it might not quite get to the boundary. It won't. And there'll be 3 runs coming the way of Daniel Hughes. So a very good over for New South Wales. The score now is no wicket for 39 after 8 overs.
You won't believe it, he's kept the strike again.
He has to.
Just like the big brother out there, isn't it? It's like, no, you'll get your turn, young Jack. I've got to admit, I haven't really seen anything like this. One batsman, one opening bats on 36, the other's on 1. And one's faced 41 deliveries and the other just 7. But, you know, Blue didn't really mind.
It's a big differential, isn't it?
Yep. At least they're still scoring runs. That strike rate now for Hughes is up over 80 now, so he's starting to score pretty quickly as well.
I would not be surprised if we maybe see a bowling change at the Bay end, but it will be continuing from your favourite end. There's the Lions Road end, or the southern end. It'll be Coulton Isle. Bowls to Hughes, and he plays that nicely straight to point for no run.
He's been really good in this tournament so far. Nathan Coulter-Nile, of course, part of that Australian World Cup squad over there in England, and probably more noted for his work with the bat than with the ball. Pretty much won the Aussies that game against West Australia, but 5 wickets so far in his 3 games, and good economy rated, just a tick over 5. He seems to be a really consistent performer for West Australia in this format of the game.
So he's maintained strike, faces Coulter-Nile now, and he punches it nicely off the back foot. But beautifully fielded.
Nasty short out there. A good dive to his left.
Former NT boy too, Northern Territory lad. I remember him coming down and playing in the Australian Country Championships down in Albury. About 8 years ago. As a teenager.
Were the stories true back then? He was a bit bit bigger, not quite as good shape.
Yeah. He's really he's certainly got himself in great nick at the moment. As Hughes faces Coulter-Nile again, and it's short and pulled away through mid-wicket. Good shot by Daniel Hughes, and that'll run away to the boundary for 4 more. So no wicket for 43, but Daniel Hughes, he had a bit of a look at one of those in the previous over from Coulter-Nile. This time he pounced on it, Max, and that was a delightful shot.
Yeah, well, it's one of his trademark shots. He's not the type of guy who's going to be depositing balls onto the embankment regularly, but he knows that he can play that little chip shot over the infield, particularly in that first 10 overs, and get away with it. Gee, he's looking good now. He's up to 40 already from the 43 runs that the Blues have scored.
And that's 40 to Hughes, 1 to Jack Edwards. And within this over, I'll get you, Max, to just go for how many balls, the differential in balls faced. It's quite remarkable. As Hughes faces Coulter-Nile, and this time he's on the front foot. He hits it straight to cover. He could be accused of being a very good counter, Brittany, too, because a lot of players were very good at getting 1s and 3s off the last ball of the over when in good form. So they can get a crack at it again the next over.
Yeah, if you're smart, you can hang on to the strike like they are now. So,
and why not?
Do you think he went out to Jack Edwards then and said, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry. I tried to get a 4. I tried to."
I reckon Jack will be backing up on the last ball of the over. He knows what might be coming. Coulter-Nile this time, and it's shortish. And Hughes, he was going to set off for a single, and Jack said, "No, go back. We've got 1 ball to go, Daniel. We run it on the last, maybe, but not on this one."
Maybe he won't be backing up. Maybe he'll be trying to take strike. The line's right in for the 10th over.
So if Hughes was, if the 50 partnership was to come up in the next over or 2, and this scoring differential stays the same, it'll be quite. It'll get the statisticians searching. So to complete Coulter-Nile's oval, he runs up, bowls to Hughes, and he punches the point, and it means Jack Edwards will be on strike for the next over.
There you go. Hughes 40 from 47, and Jack Edwards 1 run from 7 deliveries. So he's faced 40 more balls.
40 more balls, yep.
More drinks here.
Yeah, you don't mind that. You just wonder.
And changing gloves too, Hughes, I know.
I wonder if he's got a bit of fatigue or an injury after Monday's marathon effort.
It's not common to see drinks that common, like that every 5 overs, is it?
No, I think he did it with a glove change, so that created an opportunity to have a bit of a quick squirt. And I guess with a bowling change too, the fielding side will be changing the field around a bit, a few adjustments, so probably does allow that bit of time. But having said that, the batsmen are still talking in the mid-pitch, and the bowler's ready to go, and it is a bowling change too.
It is. It's going to be AJ Tye coming in from the river end for the WA team. 7 wickets so far in his 3 matches, and did the job for the boys in yellow and black at the death against New South Wales. Took that last over and did a fantastic job. So
yep.
Edwards has finally got the strike. 1 slip in place.
Very skillful bowler, AJ Tye. He now bowls to Jack Edwards, and Edwards punches it to point.
Well, he did a superb job in the final over of the match on Monday, didn't he? Wicket on the first ball. I think Neville was out for 1. Really limited what New South Wales were able to do
There was a big wicket, wasn't it?
The last ball too, Abbott was caught out trying to hit big, but yeah, they were still in touching distance at that stage, so a really good over from him at the depth meant that WA held on.
Experienced campaigner. Ty bowls now, and Edwards, nice shot off the back foot. Beautiful bit of timing. Played it late, and he got it behind point for 4 runs. So his first boundary, and Edwards moves up to 5.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's so much about this guy, Jack Edwards, which is good. And if I think we're at the top of that list, of just how good he looks and plays shots like that. He's a big man. He's well over 6 foot tall, but just his balance is at the crease is just quite remarkable. Absolute nightmare to bowl to.
Ty again. Bowls, and it's short again, and Edwards just... He thought about the pull shot through mid-wicket. Quite safe. He just played it back to bowler. And not a bad tactic. A change of bowler. Have a bit of a look at him. Get the pace. He had the boundary of the ball before, and there was no need for it.
Yeah, well, that's it. Just hope he hasn't gotten too cold out there at the non-strikers end, facing many balls. Ty, as we mentioned, 2 for 49 in that last game. His other figures so far in the tournament, 2 for 28 and 3 for 49. So continuing on his wicket-taking ways.
Edwards on strike, and this time he works it pretty fine. They might think about coming back for the second, and he'll do that quite comfortably. And then good running by Hughes. And it takes the score to no wicket for 49. We're in the 10th over. Daniel Hughes on 40. Edwards moves to 7.
You mentioned yellow and black before, Max. You've got to be careful at this time of year mentioning yellow and black and which team people are associating those colours with.
It's a bit raw, Brittany, to be bringing that up. Max,
sorry,
the
Robbie.
GWS Giant man.
Sorry, Robbie.
That's right, I'm trying to put it to bed.
That happened about 10 minutes into the second quarter, Max. Ty bowls now, and a beaten outside the off stump. That's probably the first time we've seen the bat beaten today. Almost 10 overs down.
Certainly Jack Edwards' bat beaten.
Yeah.
It's been, we're doing more beating of the pitch at the non-strikers end, sweeping away sticks and stones. But no, it's a good little comeback from AJ Tide. WA bowlers have certainly looked better when they've been hitting that hard length. And really getting the ball to sing through at a good height against these blues.
So AJ Tide to complete his first over in the 10th of the innings. Edwards on strike, and he a little bit streakily plays it down to third man for a single. So that'll bring up the 50 for New South Wales, right on 10 overs.
That's it. It's been a pretty good start by New South Wales, all in all. And 8 of those runs rather to Jack Edwards, and 40 of those to Dan Hughes. 40 from 47. Edwards now 7 for 12 after taking the strike for that in the entire over. So that'll be the end of the first power play as well. These Australians will be allowed to send a few more men outside the 30-metre circle. He's going to step out of the commentary box, and Brittany and I will take you through the next 10 or so overs as well. So
I think he's got an eye on a cup of tea and maybe some fruit.
yeah, I saw a few muffins over there as well that I reckon got Robbie's name on them. So it looks like we're going to see a change of bowling. Marcus Stoinis coming into bowl from the Lions Road and replacing Coulter Nile. Figures none for 19 from his first 5. So you've got to say, pretty decent start for New South Wales so far, Britt.
Very decent start, and considering, you know, they lost their first wicket 1 for 12 on Monday, they'd be very happy with the performance so far here. They've faced some of the really strong pacers from WA and been able to stand up to them and hold their wicket. So at the moment, it's looking good for the Blues.
4 men out at the moment. Third man's just coming a little bit squarer. Point on the fence as well. Backward square leg and mid-wicket as well. Here comes Stoinis for his first ball of the day from the Lions Road end. Starts full. He just pushes that one for no run. So Marcus Stoinis also part of that Cricket World Cup over there in England. What did you make of his work over there, Britt?
To be honest, I had my head in the Women's Ashes for some of it, so I did watch a lot of it, but yeah, with that time difference too, it was a shocker, really. If you stayed up and watched the World Cup and then the Ashes as well, I commend you, because your body clock must be so out of whack still.
That's a good shot by Jack. just off his pads. It'll just be a single to the man on the fence there.
What did you make of his work, Max?
Yeah, look, I thought he's certainly come a long way with his bowling in the last 12 months. And there was a lot of talk on Monday in the commentary box as well from Brad Haddon and the like, who were working with that Australian team over there. He's always been a capable bowler, but he really put his hand up to bowl those death overs for Australia. Get really stuck into the tough stuff. He's got some good changes of pace and can also hit a Yorker when needed. So interesting to see how WA use him in this tournament. He didn't bowl the death overs, but it didn't really matter when you've got Andrew Ty.
Yes.
It's certainly a pretty handy bloke to have in your team. Bat 5 today is listed, but you look in that lineup, there's really only a handful of West Australians who won't be bowling. Saw Darcy Short reel out the wrist spinners on Monday. And Mitch Marsh at 4, Stoinis, Cartwright at 7 as well, the other all-rounders in the lineup who can bowl that medium pace. Full driven. There's got to be a bit of a chase on for Jai Richardson at third man. Has a bit of a fumble. Bowls it in from the boundary. They get back for 2.
Just on the unorthodox and orthodox bowling, WA have got about 3 bowlers left-hand spin. Yep. So obviously a mix of wrist and finger, but yeah, I've never seen that many unorthodox, orthodox players in one team.
Yeah, they're pretty lucky. And some pretty handy bowlers as well. Agar and Short, they've both done it for Australia. Pushed out some extra cover for a single. And Agar didn't necessarily have his best day at the office on Monday out here. He only got the 2 overs, and Moses Enriquez got after him. He was 18 from those 2 overs and leaked a few boundaries, but Darcy Short was pretty tidy late in that game. 20 runs coming from his 3 overs.
And we usually see Agar bowl 9-10 overs a game, so the fact that they pulled him after 2, I think, you know, told a tale itself.
Jack back on strike now for New South Wales. It's a good end to the first over from Stoinis. Just the 4 runs coming from it, and New South Wales none for 54 after 11. So many options for WA to call upon. And AJ Ty, he's a really good story for this West Australian lineup. We talk about how many young players they've got and the young talent they've got within the state. He's certainly, much like Dan Hughes, a late bloomer. Hard to believe that AJ Ty is already 32 years old. But the work he's done so far in this tournament for WA has been quite remarkable. Already got the 3rd most wickets for Western Australia all time in one-day domestic cricket with 75. And tell you what, Britt, here's a bit of a trivia question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Who's there? There's one other player for Western Australia out there at the moment who's in their top 5 leading wicket takers all time in one-day domestic cricket. Have you got any guess who that could be?
Can I